History remembers the great. But what about the secrets it chose to forget? This is Arcana, uncovering history. In 1978, two countries shaped by decades of conflict finally sat down at the same negotiating table. Egypt and Israel met at Camp David, with the United States helping bring them together. Behind closed doors, they debated territory, security, borders, and the possibility of peace. The negotiations were difficult, but they produced an agreement that would transform relations between two former enemies and become a major turning point in the history of Middle Eastern diplomacy. But the agreements were only a framework. The hardest questions remained. The Sinai Peninsula, captured by Israel during the 1967 war, was central to Egypt's position. At Camp David, negotiators spent 13 intense days working through territorial, security, and political disputes. The result was not yet a peace treaty. Instead, two framework agreements created a path toward Egyptian-Israeli peace. Now came the harder test, turning promises on paper into lasting peace between former enemies. A year later, the framework became a formal treaty. In March 1979, Egypt and Israel signed a peace agreement in Washington. Israel agreed to withdraw from the Sinai Peninsula, while both sides established diplomatic relations and security arrangements. The treaty did not erase decades of hostility, nor did it resolve every regional conflict. But it marked a historic shift. Two states that had fought several wars had created a formal peace, turning the Camp David agreements into something much more consequential. The treaty changed the relationship between Egypt and Israel, but it did not end every conflict in the region. Egypt became the first Arab state to formally recognize Israel, while Israel completed its withdrawal from Sinai under the agreement. The peace survived major regional crises and political changes, yet the wider Arab-Israeli conflict remained unresolved. Camp David had achieved something historic, but its limits were equally important. Peace between two former enemies did not automatically mean peace for the entire region. Camp David proved that former enemies could choose negotiation over war. Egypt and Israel built a peace that endured through later crises. But the wider conflict remained, leaving one question. Could peace between two enemies ever transform an entire region?